Imagine you're standing in the bustling heart of two of the world's most influential nations, the USA and Germany. What do their political landscapes look like? In the United States, the political scene is predominantly a two-party system, featuring the Democrats and Republicans. The Democrats lean towards the left of the spectrum, advocating for social equality and environmental protection. The Republicans, on the other hand, lean towards the right, championing limited government, free market capitalism, and a strong national defense. Across the Atlantic, the political spectrum in Germany is a bit more diverse. The Christian Democratic Union, traditionally center-right, champions conservative values and social market economy. The Social Democratic Party, leaning center-left, advocates for social justice and workers' rights. The Greens, as their name suggests, prioritize environmental sustainability and social progressivism. The left, a democratic socialist party, pushes for social equality and workers' rights. Finally, the Free Democratic Party, leaning towards the center, supports classical liberal policies and civil liberties. It's fascinating to see the ideological differences and similarities between these parties. For instance, both the Democrats in the US and the Social Democrats in Germany advocate for social justice, while the Republicans and the Christian Democratic Union share a common emphasis on conservative values and a free market economy. The Greens in Germany and the Democrats in the US both champion environmental sustainability, showcasing how global concerns can transcend national boundaries. Yet, the diversity of parties in Germany allows for a broader range of ideologies to be represented, from the far left to the far right, and everything in between. This contrasts with the US, where the political discourse is primarily confined within the Democrats and Republicans. Remember, political parties are the backbone of a nation's politics, serving as the vehicle through which citizens express their differing viewpoints. Tune in for our next scene, where we'll delve into the fascinating election processes in the USA and Germany. Have you ever wondered how leaders are chosen in these two nations? In the United States, the presidential election process is a complex dance of primaries, caucuses, and a national convention. The first stage sees the potential candidates vying for their party's nomination through a series of state contests. Once the party's candidate is chosen, the real race begins. The presidential hopefuls compete in a nationwide election where citizens cast their votes. However, these votes do not directly elect the president. Instead, they choose members of the Electoral College, who then cast their votes for the president. This system, while sometimes controversial, aims to balance the influence of populous and less populous states. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Germany employs quite a different method. The parliamentary election process is rooted in the principle of mixed-member proportional representation. Here, voters cast two votes. The first vote is for a candidate in their constituency, much like in the US. The second vote, however, is for a political party. Half of the Bundestag, the German federal parliament, is filled by the constituency candidates who win their races. The other half is filled by candidates from party lists, based on the proportion of second votes each party receives. This system seeks to create a parliament that accurately reflects the political preferences of the people. The differences are stark. The US, with its electoral college system, emphasizes a winner-takes-all approach, while Germany's mixed-member proportional representation aims for a more accurate reflection of the voters' will. These systems, born out of their respective historical and cultural contexts, have their strengths and weaknesses, but they share a common purpose: to translate the voice of the citizenry into a functioning government. The way a nation chooses its leaders reflects its values and vision for the future. The election processes in both the United States and Germany, while different, are the embodiment of their people's pursuit for democracy, representation, and a better tomorrow. Ever wondered about the invisible strings that control the puppet show of politics? Well, let's pull back the curtain together and take a closer look at the separation of powers, the system that keeps the political world spinning in both the USA and Germany. In the United States, we have a tripartite system, meaning power is divided among three branches: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. The executive branch, headed by the president, is responsible for enforcing laws. The legislative branch, consisting of the Senate and the House of Representatives, crafts the laws. Lastly, the judicial branch, led by the Supreme Court, interprets the laws. It's like a well-oiled machine, each part playing its role with precision. But what's even more fascinating is the checks and balances system. a safety net that ensures no one branch gains too much power. For instance, while the president can veto laws passed by Congress, Congress can override this veto with a 2/3 majority vote. Similarly, the Supreme Court can declare a law unconstitutional, checking the power of the legislative branch. Now let's hop across the pond to Germany, where we find a slightly different setup. There, power is distributed across 3 levels: the federal, the Länder, and the municipal. The federal level, akin to the USA's executive branch, handles national and international affairs. The Länder, or states, manage regional issues, and the municipal level takes care of local matters. Just like in the USA, Germany also has a system of checks and balances in place. One example is the Bundesrat, a legislative body representing the 16 Länder. It can veto legislation from the Bundestag, the federal parliament, if it affects the state's interests. In both countries, this Balance Act ensures that power is not concentrated in one place, preserving democracy and preventing tyranny. It's like a delicate dance, each participant moving in sync, maintaining harmony and order in the political arena. Remember, the separation of powers is a safeguard against the concentration of power, ensuring that no single entity holds absolute authority. It's the invisible strings that guide the dance, keeping the puppet show of politics in check. How engaged are the citizens of these two nations in shaping their own political destiny? Voter turnout, the percentage of eligible voters who cast a ballot in an election, is often used as a measure of the health of a democracy. Let's take a look at the United States and Germany. In the last few elections, Germany has seen a consistently high voter turnout. In the most recent federal election, over 70% of eligible voters cast their ballots. This figure has remained relatively steady over the past few decades, reflecting a strong civic engagement among the German populace. Factors contributing to this high turnout include automatic voter registration and the fact that elections are held on Sundays, making it easier for working people to vote. Across the Atlantic, the story is a bit different. The United States has struggled with lower voter turnout for many years. In the 2020 presidential election, however, there was a surge of civic participation, with around 66% of eligible voters turning out to vote. This was the highest turnout in over a century, but still lower than Germany's. The US faces unique challenges when it comes to voter turnout. It's one of the few democracies where citizens are not automatically registered to vote. Additionally, Election Day is not a national holiday, and many people find it difficult to get to the polls on a workday. Early voting and postal voting options do exist, but their availability varies from state to state. So, what does all this mean? Well, a higher voter turnout implies that citizens are taking an active role in shaping the future of their country, which is a key aspect of a healthy democracy. But low turnout should not necessarily be seen as a sign of apathy. Instead, it can reflect barriers to voting that need to be addressed. In the end, a nation's political health is measured not just by the leaders it elects, but by the engagement of its citizens in the electoral process. So, what can we glean from this comparative exploration of the political systems of the USA and Germany? Let's take a step back and look at the broad strokes painted. We've seen the vibrant political spectrums of both nations. The USA, with its two-party system, has the Democrats and Republicans dominating the scene. On the other hand, Germany's multi-party system includes the Christian Democratic Union, the Social Democratic Party, and the Greens, among others. This difference reflects the variance in political culture and ideology, where the USA leans towards a binary opposition and Germany towards a consensus-based approach. The election processes in both countries stand out as unique. America's electoral college system is distinct, where the president is not directly elected by the populace. Germany, in contrast, employs a mixed-member proportional representation system, creating a more direct link between voter preference and parliamentary representation. The separation of powers, a pillar of democracy, is seen in both nations but with different nuances. The USA has a pronounced separation with its 3 branches: the executive, legislative, and judiciary. Germany, while also having 3 branches, demonstrates a more cooperative model, especially between the executive and legislative bodies, reflecting the collaborative ethos of its political system. Finally, let's reflect on voter turnout. Despite the differences in their political systems, both the USA and Germany have seen varying levels of citizen engagement. While Germany generally has a higher voter turnout, the USA's turnout has seen significant improvement in recent years, reflecting an increased interest in political participation. These reflections help us appreciate the similarities and differences between the political systems of the USA and Germany. Both systems, while distinctive, are tailored to meet the unique needs and aspirations of their citizens. Remember, understanding different political systems is not about determining which is superior. Instead, it's about appreciating the diverse ways in which nations organize themselves to meet the aspirations of